He told her she didn't belong in his world. In front of everyone, he erased her from the photograph of his perfect life. She disappeared that night, broken, humiliated, carrying a secret he'll never forgive himself for missing. 3 years later, she's back. But this time, she's not his invisible wife. She's the woman who holds his empire in her hands. And when he finally sees her again, the truth she's been hiding will destroy everything he thought he knew about power, love, and the cost of silence. This is the story of a man who lost everything the moment he let her go, and the woman who became untouchable the second she walked away. The boardroom was silent. Min-jae sat at the head of the table, his posture perfect, his expression unreadable. Around him, his executive team shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The acquisition had blindsided them all. Sterling Dynamics had moved quietly, strategically, and by the time Aurora's board realized what was happening, it was already too late. 51%. Sterling now controlled Aurora Industries. "They're sending someone today," his CFO murmured. "A representative, to oversee the transition." Min-jae didn't respond. His fingers rested lightly on the mahogany table, perfectly still. He had built this company from nothing. He had sacrificed everything for it. And now, some faceless corporate strategist was going to walk into his boardroom and dictate terms. He would destroy them, calmly, methodically, the way he destroyed everything that threatened his control. The door opened, and the world stopped. She walked in like a force of nature, confident, composed, devastating. She wore charcoal gray, her hair pulled back in a sleek low bun, her heels clicking softly against the marble floor. Her presence filled the room before she said a single word. Min-jae's breath caught. Amara. She didn't look at him. Not immediately. She greeted the room with a calm, professional smile, her voice steady and warm as she introduced herself. "Good morning. I'm Amara Okafor, Director of Operations for Sterling Dynamics. I'll be overseeing Aurora's integration." Her eyes finally met his. And in that single shattering moment, Min-jae felt everything he had buried for 3 years rise to the surface. Regret, shame, longing, and something far more dangerous. She was different. Not broken. Not invisible. Not the woman he had dismissed. She was power itself. "Mr. Min," she said coolly, her tone professional, detached. "Shall we begin?" He couldn't speak, couldn't move. The room blurred around him, and all he could see was her, standing across from him, untouchable, unreachable, exactly the way he had once been. His CFO cleared his throat. "Ms. Okafor, we're ready to discuss the terms." "There are no terms," Amara interrupted gently. "Sterling has controlling interest. Aurora will operate under our strategic direction moving forward." She paused, her gaze still locked on Min-jae. "But we believe in collaboration. If Mr. Min is willing to cooperate, this transition can be smooth." The way she said his name, formal, distant, like he was a stranger, cut deeper than any insult ever could. "Cooperate," Min-jae repeated slowly. His voice was low, controlled, but beneath it, something trembled. "Yes." Amara's expression didn't change. "I understand this is difficult, but Aurora's future depends on your willingness to adapt." Adapt. The word felt like a slap. For 3 years he had convinced himself she was gone. That she had moved on, faded into obscurity, disappeared the way invisible people do. He had never imagined this, that she would return stronger, sharper, holding everything he valued in the palm of her hand. "I'd like to speak with you," he said quietly. "Privately." Amara tilted her head slightly. "I don't think that's appropriate, Mr. Min." "I wasn't asking." The room went still. She studied him for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Then slowly, she nodded. 5 minutes, she said, "in your office." The walk down the hall felt endless. Min-jae's mind raced, his chest tight with 1,000 unspoken words. What could he possibly say? What explanation could justify what he had done? Amara followed him in silence, her heels echoing softly behind him. When they reached his office, he closed the door and turned to face her. She stood by the window, her arms crossed, her posture calm but distant. "Well?" she said. Min-jae exhaled slowly. "I didn't know you were with Sterling. Would it have mattered?" The question hung in the air like a blade. "Yes," he said quietly. "It would have." Amara's lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. "That's the difference between us, Min-jae. I don't need you to matter anymore." The use of his first name, soft, final, felt like goodbye. "I was wrong," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "That night, what I said to you, I was cruel," she offered. "Calculated, exactly who you've always been?" He flinched. "You don't get to apologize now," Amara continued, her tone still calm, still controlled. "You don't get to rewrite history because I'm standing in front of you with power you didn't think I could have." "I'm not trying to rewrite anything," Min-jae said. "I just—" He stopped, searching for words that didn't exist. "I need you to know that I—" "You what?" Amara stepped closer, her eyes sharp, unyielding. "You regret it? You miss me? You realize now that I was worth something?" "Yes." The confession fell between them like shattered glass. Amara looked at him for a long, unbearable moment. Then she turned back toward the window. "It's too late," she said softly. 3 years too late. Min-jae's hands clenched at his sides. "What do you want from me?" "Nothing." She glanced over her shoulder, her expression unreadable. "I don't need anything from you anymore, Min-jae. That's the point." She moved toward the door. "Wait." "5 minutes are up," Amara said without turning around. "I'll see you in the boardroom tomorrow. We have a lot of work to do." And then she was gone. Min-jae stood alone in his office, the silence pressing down on him like a weight he couldn't lift. She was right. It was too late. But that didn't stop him from wanting her back. The next morning, Min-jae arrived at Aurora earlier than usual. The building felt different, colder, as if the walls themselves knew that everything had changed. He sat in his office, staring at the skyline, his mind replaying the conversation with Amara over and over again. Her voice, her eyes, the way she had looked at him, not with anger, but with something far worse. Indifference. She didn't need him anymore. And that terrified him more than losing his company ever could. A soft knock pulled him from his thoughts. "Come in," he said quietly. His assistant entered, her expression cautious. "Mr. Min, Ms. Okafor is here. She's requested access to your financial records and strategic planning documents." Min-jae's jaw tightened. "Tell her I'll review the request." She said it wasn't a request, sir. Sterling has full access under the acquisition terms. Of course she did. Fine, Min-jae said evenly. Give her whatever she needs. His assistant hesitated. Sir, is everything all right? Yes, he lied. That will be all. When she left, Min-jae leaned back in his chair and closed his eyes. What are you doing, Amara? By midday, Amara had taken over one of the conference rooms on the executive floor. Min-jae found her there, surrounded by financial reports, her laptop open, her focus absolute. She didn't look up when he entered. You're thorough, he said. I have to be. Amara's tone was professional, distant. Aurora's financials are more unstable than Sterling anticipated. Min-jae crossed his arms. We've had a strong quarter. On paper. She finally looked up, her gaze sharp. But your debt-to-equity ratio is dangerous. You've been leveraging future growth to cover present losses. It's unsustainable, he bristled. I've kept this company profitable for 8 years. And you've done it by taking risks most CEOs wouldn't dare touch. Amara leaned back in her chair, studying him. You're brilliant, Min-jae, but you're also reckless. The The compliment and the criticism landed simultaneously, and he didn't know which one stung more. "So what's your plan?" he asked. "Gut the company? Strip it for parts?" "No." Amara's expression softened slightly. "I'm going to save it." Min-jae stared at her. "Why?" "Because it's my job." "That's not an answer." She tilted her head, considering him. "You think I'm here for revenge. Aren't you?" Amara stood, moving around the table until she was standing just a few feet away from him. Her presence was magnetic, overwhelming, impossible to ignore. "If I wanted revenge," she said softly, "I would have let Sterling dismantle Aurora piece by piece. I would have watched you lose everything and felt nothing." She paused. "But I'm not that person anymore." "Then who are you?" Her smile was sad. "Someone you don't know." The silence between them felt heavy, loaded with everything they weren't saying. "I want to understand," Min-jae said quietly. "What happened to you after that night?" Amara's expression hardened. "You don't get to ask me that." "Why not?" "Because you lost that right the moment you told me I didn't belong." The words hit like a physical blow. "I was wrong," Min-jae said, his voice rough. "I know I was wrong." "Do you?" Amara's eyes searched his face. "Or do you just regret losing control?" He didn't answer. He couldn't. Because she was right. "I need to get back to work," Amara said, her tone final. "Unless there's something else?" Min-jae wanted to say 1,000 things. He wanted to ask her to stay, to tell him everything, to let him fix what he had broken. But instead, he simply nodded. "No," he said quietly. "Nothing else." Amara returned to her seat, her attention already back on the reports in front of her. And Min-jae left, feeling more lost than he had in years. That evening, Min-jae sat alone in his penthouse, a glass of whiskey untouched on the table beside him. His phone buzzed, a text from his mother. "I heard about the acquisition. Are you all right?" He didn't respond. Instead, he opened his laptop and searched for Amara's name. What he found shocked him. Over the past 3 years, she had risen through Sterling Dynamics like a meteor, starting as a junior analyst and climbing to director of operations in record time. Articles praised her strategic mind, her ability to turn failing companies into profitable ventures, her calm, unshakable presence in high-pressure situations. She had become exactly what he had once been, untouchable. Min-jae scrolled through photo after photo, Amara at industry conferences, Amara shaking hands with Fortune 500 CEOs, Amara standing on stage accepting an award for most influential woman in corporate strategy. In every image, she looked powerful, confident, complete. And in none of them did she look like the woman he had married. He closed the laptop and leaned back, his chest tight. "Who are you, Amara? And what did I do to you?" The weeks that followed were a careful dance. Amara worked from Aurora's offices 3 days a week, systematically reviewing every department, every contract, every decision Min-jae had made over the past 5 years. She was meticulous, professional, impossible to fault. And Min-jae found himself watching her. Not just in meetings, not just when she presented her findings to the board, but in the small, unguarded moments, when she stood by the window, lost in thought, or when she smiled at his assistant, warm and genuine in a way she never was with him. He had forgotten how beautiful she was. No, that wasn't true. He had never let himself see it. But now, it was all he could see. It was late afternoon when Min-jae found her alone in the executive lounge, reviewing documents on her tablet. "Can I ask you something?" he said quietly. Amara glanced up, her expression neutral. "That depends on the question." He sat down across from her, his movements careful, deliberate. "Why did you take this assignment? You could have sent anyone from Sterling. Why come yourself?" She studied him for a long moment, her eyes unreadable. "Because I needed to see you again," she said finally. The honesty shocked him. Why? Amara set down her tablet. Because for 3 years I convinced myself that what you did didn't matter, that I had moved on, that I was stronger without you. She paused. But I needed to see you to know if that was true. And? Minjae's voice was barely a whisper. Is it? She smiled sadly. I don't know yet. The vulnerability in her words unraveled something inside him. I think about that night every day, Minjae said quietly. What I said to you, how you looked at me, the way you just left. You wanted me to leave. No. His voice cracked. I wanted you to fight. I wanted you to yell at me, to make me see how wrong I was. But you just disappeared. Because I was tired, Minjae. Amara's tone was soft but firm. Tired of being invisible. Tired of loving someone who couldn't see me. Tired of waiting for you to choose me. I should have chosen you. Yes, she said simply. You should have. The silence stretched between them, heavy and fragile. If I could go back, Minjae began. You can't, Amara interrupted gently. And even if you could, it wouldn't change anything. Because the man you were then is still the man you are now. That's not true, isn't it? She leaned forward slightly, her gaze piercing. You're sitting here apologizing, saying all the right things. But you're still thinking about control, about how to fix this, about how to win me back. Minjae swallowed hard. Is that so wrong? It is if you're doing it because you can't stand losing. The accusation landed like a punch. That's not why, he said, his voice low, urgent. I want you back because He stopped, the words catching in his throat. Because you what? Amara pressed. Because I love you. The confession hung in the air between them, raw and desperate. Amara's expression didn't change. She simply looked at him, her eyes filled with something that might have been pity. You don't love me, Minjae, she said softly. You love the idea of me, the version of me that existed in the margins of your life, waiting for you to notice. That's not true. It is. She stood, gathering her things. And until you understand that, nothing between us can ever change. She moved toward the door, and Minjae felt panic rise in his chest. Amara, wait! She paused, her hand on the door frame, but didn't turn around. There's something you should know, she said quietly. Something I should have told you a long time ago. His heart stopped. What? Amara was silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, she looked back at him, her eyes filled with a pain so deep it took his breath away. When I left that night, she said, her voice barely above a whisper, I was pregnant. The world shattered. Minjae couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The words echoed in his mind, incomprehensible, impossible. Pregnant. What? He whispered. Amara's expression was calm, controlled, but her eyes betrayed her. I found out the morning after the gala. I was going to tell you that night. But then you... She trailed off. So I left, and I never looked back. Where? Minjae's voice broke. Where is the baby? Where is... She's safe, Amara said softly. She's with someone I trust. He had a daughter. Why didn't you tell me? His voice was raw, desperate. Because you didn't deserve to know. Amara's tone was gentle but final. Because I wasn't going to let my child grow up feeling invisible the way I did. Minjae felt his knees weaken. He gripped the back of the chair, his mind reeling. I want to meet her, he said. Please, Amara. No. The word was absolute. You don't get to walk into her life just because you feel guilty, Amara continued. She's happy, she's loved, and I won't let you disrupt that just because you've suddenly decided you want to be a father. I have a right. You have nothing, Amara said, her voice sharp now. You gave up every right you had the moment you told me I didn't belong. The truth of it crushed him. I'm sorry, Min-jae whispered, tears burning in his eyes. God, Amara, I'm so sorry. She looked at him for a long moment, her expression softening just slightly. I know you are, she said quietly. But sorry doesn't change the past. And it doesn't give you a future with her. She turned and walked away, leaving Min-jae standing alone in the empty room, his world collapsing around him. He had lost everything. And this time, there was no one to blame but himself. The days after Amara's revelation felt like drowning in slow motion. Min-jae couldn't sleep, couldn't focus. Every meeting blurred into meaningless noise. His board spoke numbers and strategy, but all he could hear was Amara's voice saying, I was pregnant. He had a daughter. Somewhere in the world, a little girl existed. His blood, his responsibility. And he knew nothing about her. Not her name, not her smile, not the sound of her laughter. And Amara had every right to keep her from him. That truth was the sharpest blade of all. 1 week later, Min-jae stood outside Amara's temporary office at Aurora, his hand raised to knock. He had rehearsed what to say 1,000 times, discarded every version, and come anyway. He knocked softly. Come in, Amara's voice called. She was seated behind her desk, reviewing contracts, her reading glasses perched on her nose. She looked up when he entered, and for just a moment, something flickered in her eyes. Surprise, maybe, or weariness. Min-jae, she said carefully. I wasn't expecting you. I know. He closed the door behind him. I need to talk to you. Not about Aurora, about her. Amara removed her glasses slowly, setting them down with deliberate precision. I told you. I'm not asking to meet her, Min-jae interrupted gently. I need to know, please. She studied him for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Then, quietly, what do you want to know? Her name. Amara's breath caught slightly. She looked away toward the window where rain had started to fall against the glass. Zara, she said softly. Her name is Zara Min Okafor. Min. She had given their daughter his name. Min-jae felt something break open inside his chest. Grief and gratitude tangled together so tightly he couldn't breathe. How old is she? His voice was barely a whisper. 2.5. He tried to imagine it. A little girl. 2 years of birthdays he had missed. First words, first steps, everything. What does she look like? Amara's lips curved into the smallest, saddest smile. She has your eyes, dark and serious, but she has my smile. She paused. She's beautiful, Min-jae. And she's happy. The words were meant to comfort him, but they only made the ache worse. I want to be part of her life, he said quietly. I know I have no right to ask. I know I don't deserve it. But I'm asking anyway. Amara stood, crossing her arms as she moved to the window. The rain streaked down the glass like tears. You think you want that now, she said. But what happens when it gets hard? When she needs you at 3 in the morning and you have a board meeting at 7? When she disrupts your perfect schedule, your perfect image? I would choose her, Min-jae said firmly. Every time. You didn't choose me. The accusation hung between them, brutal and true. You're right, Min-jae admitted, his voice rough. I didn't. I chose my empire, my control, my fear of being seen as weak, and I lost everything that mattered. He took a step closer. But I'm not that man anymore. Amara turned to face him, her eyes sharp. Prove it. How? Show me, she said simply. Show me that you've changed, that you're capable of putting someone else first, because I won't let you near Zara until I know, truly know, that you won't break her heart the way you broke mine. Min-jae nodded slowly. What do you need from me? Time, Amara said, and honesty. I need to see who you are now. Not who you're trying to be to win me back. Not who you think I want you to be. Just you. Okay, he said quietly. I can do that. Amara searched his face, looking for the lie, the manipulation, the control. But all she found was brokenness. And maybe, just maybe, the beginning of something real. Over the following weeks, something shifted. Min-jae stopped trying to impress Amara, stopped performing. Instead, he simply showed up. To meetings, to strategy sessions, to late-night problem-solving over lukewarm coffee in the conference room. He listened when she spoke. Really listened. Not to find weaknesses or openings, but to understand. And slowly, carefully, Amara began to let him in. Not all the way, but enough. One evening, as they worked late reviewing Aurora's restructuring plan, Amara glanced up from her laptop. Can I ask you something? Min-jae looked up. Anything. Why did you marry me? The question caught him off guard. He set down his pen, considering his answer carefully. Honestly, he said. I don't think I knew. My family approved of you. You were intelligent, graceful, easy to be around. It felt logical. Not exactly romantic, Amara said dryly. No, Min-jae admitted. It wasn't, but somewhere along the way, you became more than logic. You became home. I just didn't realize it until you were gone. Amara's expression softened slightly. Do you know what the hardest part was? Tell me. I would have loved you through anything, she said quietly. Your coldness, your silence, your obsession with control. I would have stayed, but you never even gave me the chance to matter. Min-jae felt the words land like stones in his chest. I'm sorry, he whispered. For all of it. Amara nodded slowly. I know you are. They sat in silence for a long moment, the rain still falling outside, the city lights blurred and distant. She asks about you sometimes, Amara said suddenly. Min-jae's head snapped up. What? Zara. She asks why she doesn't have a daddy like the other kids. Amara's voice was soft, careful. I tell her that her daddy is very far away, that he's working very hard, that he loves her even though he can't be here. You told her I love her? Min-jae's voice broke. Yes. Amara met his eyes. Because despite everything, I know that's true. He couldn't speak. Couldn't do anything but feel the weight of those words settle over him like grace he didn't deserve. Thank you, he managed finally. Amara smiled. Small, fragile, but real. And for the first time in 3 years, Min-jae felt something that almost resembled hope. 2 months into the restructuring, Aurora Industries began to stabilize. Amara's strategies were working, revenue was climbing, investor confidence was returning. And against all odds, Min-jae and Amara had developed something that resembled a partnership. But the board was restless. Sterling Dynamics wanted results. Fast. And they wanted Amara back at headquarters. The email came on a Tuesday morning. Min-jae was in his office when Amara knocked, her expression carefully neutral. We need to talk, she said. He gestured to the chair across from his desk. She sat, her posture professional, but he could see the tension in her shoulders. Sterling is pulling me back, Amara said quietly. They want me in New York by the end of the month. Min-jae felt the ground shift beneath him. What about Aurora? They'll assign someone else to oversee the transition. The heavy lifting is done. Aurora is stable. She paused. My work here is finished. Finished. The word felt like an ending. And Zara? Min-jae asked carefully. Amara's expression flickered, just for a moment, with something that looked like pain. She's in New York, Amara said. She's been staying with my sister while I've been here. I need to get back to her. Min-jae nodded slowly, his mind racing. Can I meet her before you go? Amara was silent for a long moment. I don't know, she said finally. I need to think about it. I understand. And he did. But understanding didn't make it hurt less. Amara stood, smoothing her skirt. I'll let you know. She left, and Min-jae sat alone in his office, staring at the skyline, feeling the world slip through his fingers once again. That weekend, Min-jae's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Meet me at Central Park, the Alice in Wonderland statue, 2 p.m. tomorrow. Amara. His heart stopped. The park was crowded with families, children laughing on the playground, couples walking hand in hand. Min-jae stood by the bronze statue, his hands in his pockets, his heart pounding so hard he thought it might break through his ribs. And then he saw them. Amara walked toward him, holding the hand of a little girl in a yellow dress. Zara. She was tiny. Perfect. Her dark curls bounced as she skipped beside her mother, her face lit with curiosity and joy. Min-jae couldn't breathe. Amara stopped a few feet away. She knelt down, speaking softly to Zara, who looked up at Min-jae with wide, serious eyes. His eyes. Zara, Amara said gently, this is someone very special. This is your daddy. The world stopped. Zara tilted her head, studying him with the intense focus of a child trying to make sense of something new. Hi, she said shyly. Min-jae's knees nearly gave out. He crouched down to her level, his eyes burning. Hi, Zara, he whispered. It's so nice to meet you. She smiled, Amara's smile, and something inside him healed and broke at the same time. Do you like swings? Zara asked. Min-jae laughed, the sound choked and wet. I love swings. Come on. She grabbed his hand, small, warm, trusting, and pulled him toward the playground. Min-jae looked back at Amara, his expression asking 1,000 questions. She nodded, her eyes glistening. Go. For an hour, Min-jae pushed Zara on the swings, helped her climb the jungle gym, listened to her chatter about her favorite things. Butterflies, strawberries, her stuffed elephant named Mr. Trunks. She was everything. And when she ran to Amara, calling, Mama, did you see how high I went? Min-jae felt his heart shatter and rebuild itself all at once. Later, as Zara played nearby, Amara sat beside Min-jae on a bench. Thank you, he said quietly, for this, for letting me meet her. She deserves to know her father, Amara said, and you deserve the chance to be one. I don't want you to go to New York, Min-jae admitted. I know that's selfish. I know you have your life, your career, but I don't want to lose either of you again. Amara looked at him, her expression soft but uncertain. What are you saying? I'm saying I love you, Min-jae said, the words raw and true. Not the idea of you, not the version I ignored. You, the woman you are now. The mother you've become. The person who saved my company and broke my heart and put me back together all at the same time. Amara's breath caught. I'm saying I want a life with you, he continued. With Zara. I don't care about empires or images or any of it. I just want you. Tears slipped down Amara's cheeks. You hurt me, Min-jae. So deeply. I know. And I'm terrified that if I let you back in, you'll do it again. I won't, he said fiercely. I swear to you, Amara. I will spend every day proving that you and Zara come first. Always. Amara closed her eyes, torn between hope and fear. I need time, she whispered. Then I'll wait, Min-jae said. However long it takes. She opened her eyes, searching his face. What if I say no? Then I'll accept it, he said quietly. But I'll still show up. For Zara. For you. Even if all you'll let me be is her father, I'll be the best version of that I can be. Amara looked at him for a long moment. Then, slowly, she reached out and took his hand. Okay, she whispered. Let's try. 6 months later. The first snow of winter fell softly against the windows of Amara's New York apartment. each flake a whisper of transformation. Inside, warmth radiated from the fireplace, from the soft glow of evening light, from the laughter of a little girl who had finally found her father. Amara stood in the doorway between the kitchen and living room, a cup of tea cradled in her hands, watching. Minjae sat cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by scattered blocks, picture books, and stuffed animals. Zara was perched on his knee, her small hands gesturing wildly as she explained, in the serious, important tone only a 3-year-old could manage, why elephants were better than giraffes. "But elephants have trunks, Daddy," she insisted. "And they never forget. Mr. Trunks told me." Minjae nodded gravely, as if this were the most crucial business decision he'd ever considered. "Mr. Trunks is very wise." "He is," Zara beamed, then scrambled off his lap to retrieve said elephant from the couch. Minjae looked up and caught Amara watching. Their eyes met, and something passed between them, something fragile and precious and still learning how to exist. 6 months. It had been 6 months since that day in Central Park. 6 months of careful rebuilding, of learning each other again, of discovering what love looked like when it was chosen rather than assumed. It hadn't been easy. There were moments when Amara's old wounds resurfaced, when Minjae's instinct for control threatened to eclipse his growth. There were difficult conversations late at night, tears shed, fears spoken aloud in the darkness, but they kept choosing each other, again and again and again. The changes in Minjae had been gradual but undeniable. He had stepped back from Aurora's daily operations entirely, promoting his longtime COO to the CEO position while he remained chairman, present but not consuming. He had restructured his life around what mattered now. Fridays through Mondays in New York with Amara and Zara, the rest of the week managing Aurora remotely, and no meetings after 6 p.m. no matter what. His board had been shocked. His mother had been skeptical. His business rivals had whispered about weakness, about distraction, about a man losing his edge. Minjae didn't care, because every Friday evening, when he walked through Amara's apartment door and Zara came running, arms outstretched, shouting, "Daddy!" he felt something that all his empire building had never given him. He felt whole. "Mama, can Daddy stay for bedtime?" Zara asked now, tugging on Amara's sleeve. Amara glanced at Minjae, who looked up with an expression of careful hope. They had established boundaries early on. He stayed in a hotel during his New York visits, gave Amara space to maintain her independence, never pushed for more than she was ready to give. But lately, those boundaries had been softening. "Of course he can," Amara said softly. Zara cheered, grabbing Minjae's hand. "You have to read the butterfly book and do the voices." Minjae stood, allowing himself to be dragged toward the bedroom. He paused beside Amara, close enough that she could smell his cologne, something warmer, less sharp than what he used to wear. "Thank you," he murmured. "She loves you," Amara said simply. "And you?" The question was quiet, vulnerable in a way Minjae had never allowed himself to be. Amara looked up at him, at this man who had shattered her heart and then spent 6 months carefully gathering every piece, learning its shape, understanding its value. "I'm getting there," she whispered. It wasn't a declaration of love. Not yet. But it was truth. And Minjae smiled, soft, genuine, patient. "That's enough," he said. "That's more than enough." Later, after Zara had fallen asleep clutching Mr. Trunks, Minjae and Amara sat together on the couch, a respectful distance between them, each holding a glass of wine. The snow continued to fall outside, blanketing the city in quiet. "Sterling offered me a promotion," Amara said suddenly. Minjae turned to her. "What kind of promotion?" "Senior Vice President of Strategic Operations. It's a significant step up. More responsibility, more travel, more time away from Zara," Minjae finished quietly. Amara nodded. "I haven't decided yet." "What do you want?" She looked at him, surprised. You're not going to tell me what to do? No. Min-jae's voice was firm. I spent too many years thinking I knew what was best for everyone around me. I won't make that mistake again. He paused. Whatever you decide, I'll support you. If you want the promotion, we'll figure out how to make it work. If you don't, that's okay too. Amara felt something loosen in her chest. I don't know if I want it, she admitted. I worked so hard to get here, to prove I was more than what you made me feel like. You were always more, Min-jae said quietly. I just couldn't see it. I know that now. Amara smiled sadly. But I also know that the person I became, the one who clawed her way up Sterling's ranks, she was driven by pain, by the need to prove something. And I'm tired of being that person. Then, who do you want to be? Amara was silent for a long moment, her eyes distant. I want to be Zara's mother, and I want to build something that's mine. Not Sterling's, not defined by anyone's expectations, but my own. Then do that, Min-jae said simply. It's not that easy. It is, he interrupted gently. Money isn't an issue. You have options, and whatever you choose, you won't be doing it alone. Amara looked at him, searching for the control, the manipulation, the hidden agenda. But all she found was sincerity. When did you become wise? She asked, a hint of amusement in her voice. Min-jae's smile was self-deprecating. I'm not wise. I'm just finally learning from my mistakes. They sat in comfortable silence, the snow falling, the apartment warm and safe. Can I ask you something? Min-jae said eventually. Always. Do you think you'll ever forgive me? Fully, I mean. Not just for Zara's sake, but really, truly forgive me? Amara considered the question carefully. I think I already have, she said slowly. Forgiveness isn't about forgetting what happened. It's about choosing not to let it define our future. She paused. But trust takes longer. I understand. Do you? Amara turned to face him fully. Because trust means vulnerability, Min-jae. It means believing that you won't hurt me again, and that's terrifying. I know. His voice was rough, and I will spend every day earning it, however long it takes. Amara reached out, her fingers brushing against his hand. The touch was tentative, testing, but Min-jae held perfectly still, letting her control the moment. You're different, she whispered. Not just in the big ways, but in the small ones too. The way you listen now, the way you see people. I see you, Min-jae said quietly. Finally, and I'm so sorry it took me so long. Amara's eyes glistened. I needed you to be sorry. For a long time I needed that, but now... She squeezed his hand gently. Now I just need you to keep showing up. I will, he promised. Every day, for you and for Zara. I swear it. The weeks that followed brought a subtle shift in their rhythm. Amara turned down Sterling's promotion and instead gave her notice, a decision that shocked everyone who knew her. But she had realized something crucial. She didn't need to prove her worth anymore. Not to Sterling, not to Min-jae, not to anyone. She knew her value now. Instead, she began consulting independently, working with small companies that needed strategic guidance but couldn't afford Sterling's fees. The work was fulfilling in ways corporate climbing had never been, and Min-jae was there through all of it, not hovering, not controlling, but supporting. He listened to her ideas, celebrated her victories, and held space for her doubts without trying to fix them. He showed up. Every Friday evening, every video call with Zara, every milestone, big and small. He became a fixture in their lives, not intrusive, but essential. One Saturday afternoon in early spring, Amara found Min-jae and Zara in the park, flying a kite. Well, Min-jae was trying to fly the kite. Zara was mostly running in circles, shrieking with delight. Amara stood at a distance, watching them, her heart almost painfully full. Min-jae noticed her and waved. his smile unguarded and bright. Zara saw her too and came sprinting over, crashing into Amara's legs. "Mama, we're flying! I can see that, baby!" Amara lifted her daughter, kissing her cheek. Minjae jogged over, slightly out of breath. "I'm not very good at this yet." "You're doing fine," Amara laughed. They stood together, watching the kite dance against the blue sky, and Amara realized something. This felt like family. Not the broken version from 3 years ago. Not the performance they had once pretended at. But something real. Something chosen. "Minjae," she said quietly. "Yeah?" "I love you." The words hung in the air between them, soft and true and terrifying. Minjae went very still. "What?" Amara looked at him, her eyes clear. "I love you. Not the man you were, the man you are now. The man who flies kites badly and reads bedtime stories and shows up even when it's hard." Minjae's eyes filled with tears. "Amara, I'm still scared," she continued. "I'm still learning to trust completely, but I love you. And I think I'm ready to really try. If you are." Minjae set down the kite. His hands were shaking as he cupped her face. Zara still balanced on her hip between them. "I have loved you every day for 3 years," he whispered. "Even when I lost you, even when I didn't deserve you, and I will love you every day for the rest of my life." He kissed her, soft, reverent, full of promise. Zara giggled. "Are you kissing?" They pulled apart, laughing. "Yes, sweetheart," Minjae said, his voice thick with emotion. "We're kissing. Does that mean Daddy lives with us now?" Amara and Minjae looked at each other. "Would you like that?" Amara asked gently. Zara nodded enthusiastically. "Yes, then he can make pancakes every day." Minjae laughed, the sound joyful and free. "Every day might be excessive, but we can negotiate." Amara smiled, her heart so full it ached. "Okay then, let's go home." The 3 of them walked through the park together, Zara between them, each holding one of her small hands. And for the first time, Amara felt like they were exactly where they were supposed to be. 3 months later, on a quiet evening in June, Minjae stood in the apartment that had become his home, a small velvet box in his pocket. Amara was in the kitchen, preparing dinner. Zara was on the living room floor, coloring with fierce concentration. He had planned this moment carefully. Not a grand gesture, not a public spectacle, but something intimate, something true. "Zara," he called softly, "can you come here for a second?" Their daughter looked up, abandoning her crayons to skip over. "Yeah, Daddy?" Minjae knelt down to her level. "I need your help with something very important." Zara's eyes went wide. "What?" "I want to ask Mama to marry me, officially this time. But I need to know if you're okay with that." Zara tilted her head, thinking. "Will you stay forever?" "Forever," Minjae promised. "And make pancakes on Saturdays?" "Always." "And read bedtime stories?" "Every single night." Zara threw her arms around his neck. "Then yes. Ask her, Daddy." Minjae hugged her tight, his eyes burning. "Okay, but you have to help me." He pulled out the ring box and showed her. "When I ask, I need you to give this to Mama. Can you do that?" Zara nodded solemnly, taking the box like it was made of glass. Together, they walked into the kitchen. Amara looked up from chopping vegetables, her expression curious. "What are you two plotting?" "Mama," Zara said seriously, "Daddy wants to ask you something." Amara set down the knife, wiping her hands on a towel. Her eyes met Minjae's, and understanding began to dawn. Minjae took a breath. 3 years ago, I made the biggest mistake of my life. I let you walk away. I chose an empire over love. I chose image over truth. And I lost everything that mattered. Amara's breath caught. "You gave me a second chance I didn't deserve," Minjae continued, his voice steady but thick with emotion. "You let me into Zara's life, into your life. You taught me what love actually means. Not possession, not control, but partnership, choice, showing up every day and choosing each other. Tears slipped down Amara's cheeks. I'm not the same man I was, Min-jae said quietly, and I will spend the rest of my life proving that to you. But I'm asking you now, in front of our daughter, in the home we've built together. He knelt down, and Zara stepped forward, holding out the ring box with both hands. Will you marry me? Min-jae whispered. Will you let me love you, honor you, see you every day for the rest of our lives? Amara looked at him through tears. At this man who had broken her and rebuilt himself, who had learned to love by losing everything. She looked at Zara, holding the ring with such hope in her eyes. And she knew. Yes, she whispered. Yes, I'll marry you. Min-jae's face broke into the most beautiful smile she'd ever seen. He stood, taking the ring from Zara and sliding it onto Amara's finger. A perfect fit, simple and elegant, nothing like the ostentatious diamond from before. When he kissed her, Zara cheered, jumping up and down. We're a family, she shouted. A real family. Min-jae and Amara pulled apart, laughing and crying at the same time. We are, Amara whispered, pulling Zara into their embrace. We really are. The wedding took place 8 months later, on a crisp autumn afternoon in a garden overlooking the Hudson River. The guest list was small. Amara's sister and mother, Min-jae's parents. His mother had softened considerably upon meeting Zara, a handful of close friends, and the Aurora executives who had become genuine supporters of Min-jae's transformation. Amara wore ivory, the color of new beginnings, but this time, the dress was her choice. Everything was her choice. Min-jae stood at the altar in a simple black suit, his hands clasped in front of him, his eyes never leaving the garden entrance. And then she appeared. Amara walked down the aisle alone, not given away, but choosing for herself. Zara walked beside her in a pale yellow dress, carrying a basket of flower petals and taking her role very seriously. When they reached Min-jae, Zara stood between them, just as she had during the proposal. The officiant smiled warmly. We are gathered here today to witness the union of Amara and Min-jae, and to celebrate the family they have already become. Min-jae's vows came first. Amara, he began, his voice clear and strong. I stand before you today, not as the man I was, but as the man you helped me become. You taught me that power without love is emptiness. That success without connection is meaningless. That being seen is far more valuable than being feared. His voice cracked slightly. I vow to see you, every day, in every moment. I vow to choose you over empire, over image, over everything. I vow to be the father Zara deserves and the husband you've always deserved. I vow to love you, not perfectly, but persistently. Not without mistakes, but with the courage to make them right. Amara's tears fell freely. Min-jae, she said softly, 3 years ago you broke my heart. But in breaking, I discovered my own strength. I learned who I am when I'm not invisible. And when you came back, when you really showed up, you didn't ask me to be smaller. You celebrated me being bigger. She took his hands. I vow to trust you with my heart again, to believe in the man you've become, to build a life with you based on truth, not performance. I vow to love you through the hard days and celebrate you through the beautiful ones. And I vow to raise our daughter in a home filled with respect, equality, and the kind of love that chooses each other every single day. The officiant turned to Zara. And Zara, do you promise to be part of this family? To love both your mama and daddy? Zara nodded enthusiastically. I promise, and they have to promise pancakes. The small gathering erupted in laughter. I think we can manage that, Min-jae said, grinning. Then by the power vested in me, the officiant said warmly, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss your bride. Min-jae cupped Amara's face gently, and when their lips met, it felt like coming home. Zara cheered, and their guests applauded, and somewhere in the distance, the Hudson River flowed on, carrying away the past and making space for the future. The reception was simple and joyful. Good food, warm conversation, and a small dance floor under string lights. When the first dance began, Min-jae held Amara close, swaying gently to the music. "Happy?" he murmured. "So happy," she whispered. "Are you?" "I didn't know I could be this happy," Min-jae admitted. "I didn't know life could feel like this." Amara rested her head against his chest, listening to his heartbeat. Steady, strong, present. Halfway through the song, Zara ran up, tugging on Min-jae's jacket. "Can I dance too?" Min-jae lifted her up, settling her between them, and they swayed together as a family, imperfect, healing, whole. Later, as the evening wound down and guests began to leave, Min-jae's mother approached Amara. "I owe you an apology," she said quietly. Amara looked at her in surprise. "Mrs. Min." "I encouraged him to build an empire at the expense of everything else," she continued. "I taught him that image mattered more than connection. And I never saw what that cost him. Cost you both." She paused. "But watching him with you and Zara these past months, he's happier than I've ever seen him. More himself. And that's because of you." Amara's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you. That means more than you know." Min-jae's mother smiled. "Take care of my son. He's finally learned how to be loved. Don't let him forget." "I won't," Amara promised. Later that night, after the guests had gone and Zara had fallen asleep in her flower girl dress, Min-jae and Amara stood on the balcony of their hotel suite, looking out at the city lights. "We did it," Amara whispered. "We did," Min-jae agreed. "Though it feels more like a beginning than an ending." "Good." Amara turned to face him. "Because I don't want this to feel finished. I want it to feel like we're still becoming." Min-jae pulled her close. "Then that's what we'll do. We'll keep becoming, together." They stood there in the quiet, the night sky above them, the city below, and somewhere in the suite behind them, their daughter sleeping peacefully. Min-jae had once believed that power was measured in buildings, in stock prices, in influence. But standing there with Amara in his arms, he finally understood the truth. Real power was choosing love. Real empire was family. Real success was this: a woman who chose to trust him again, a daughter who called him daddy, and a future built on truth instead of image. He had lost everything to gain what mattered. And he would make that trade every single time. "I love you," he whispered into Amara's hair. "I love you too," she murmured back. "Always." And in that moment, under the stars, they were exactly where they were meant to be. Home. Epilogue. 2 years later. The beach house on Martha's Vineyard was alive with laughter. Zara, now 5.5, chased waves with her baby brother, 18-month-old Elijah, toddling after her with unsteady determination. Min-jae jogged behind them, ready to catch Elijah if he fell, his face relaxed and joyful in a way that would have been unimaginable 6 years ago. Amara sat on a blanket, watching her family, her hand resting on her growing belly. Another girl, due in the fall. Her consulting business had grown into something beautiful, a firm that specialized in helping women-owned businesses scale sustainably. She had built something entirely her own, something that mattered. Min-jae had stepped down from Aurora entirely, selling his shares and using the proceeds to fund educational initiatives for underprivileged children. He still consulted occasionally, but his primary role now was father, husband, and partner. They had built a life that prioritized presence over prestige, connection over control, love over empire. Min-jae jogged back to the blanket, Elijah in his arms, Zara holding his hand. "Mama, we found the best shell," Zara announced, holding up her treasure. It's beautiful, sweetheart, Amara said, admiring it seriously. Minjae sat down beside her, Elijah climbing immediately into Amara's lap. He kissed her temple gently. Happy anniversary, he murmured. Happy anniversary, she whispered back. 2 years of marriage. 6 years since that terrible night at the gala. A lifetime of transformation. Do you ever miss it? Amara asked quietly. The power? The empire? Minjae looked at his children, at his wife, at the ocean stretching endlessly before them. No, he said simply. I have everything I need right here. And he meant it, because he had finally learned the most important lesson of all. The greatest empire you can build is love, and the most powerful thing you can do is show up, every single day, for the people who matter most.